I think I've got a few minutes left of my presentation time, and I would like to deal with the issue that Flint has mentioned of archaeology somehow knowing that there was no lost civilization. If we could call this up on the screen, Jamie. So the Society for American Archaeology, of which Flint is a member, wrote an open letter to Netflix shortly after the release of my show, Ancient Apocalypse, really asking Netflix to cancel the show. Not to cancel it, this is quite cleverly put. They said they said reclassify it as science fiction. Now, to my mind, what is the result of 30 plus years of work on my part being reclassified as science fiction is as good as cancelling it. Netflix did not reclassify it as science fiction, but archaeology, the Society for American Archaeology, says that it really sees no evidence for an advanced lost civilization of the Ice Age, and that my series is simply entertainment with ideological goals. So I want to get into the parts of the world that that archaeology has not looked at, that have been.
It's kind of interesting, though, from that statement. Just the last thing, contrary to Hancock's claims, archaeology does not willfully ignore credible evidence, nor does it seek to suppress it in a conspiratorial fashion.
You know,
but we just showed that.
Yeah, we just showed in the case of Tom Dillehay that his evidence was suppressed, that in the case of Jacques Cinq-Mars, his evidence was suppressed, that archaeology was not open-minded about the work of these guys, that they suffered humiliation and great difficulty in advancing their work. And furthermore, I'd like to make another point clear at this point, Flint. I don't think there's an archaeological conspiracy against me. I'm not so conceited. I don't imagine there's a conspiracy. I don't think archaeologists are sitting together in a cabal conspiring against me. I think that archaeology is locked into a mindset about the past where my ideas simply seem preposterous. And I think it's very annoying to archaeology that those ideas have some resonance with the public. But I absolutely refute any suggestion that I have ever said that archaeology is involved in a conspiracy against me or is trying to suppress my work. That is not the case. Look, there's the Sahara Desert. A fair bit of archaeology has been done in the Sahara Desert, but we're looking at 9.2 million square kilometers of the Sahara Desert. Tell me how much of the Sahara you think has actually been excavated, Flint, by archaeologists?
I'd say a bunch of it has been surveyed, including by my dad.
No. How much has actually been excavated? What sort of percent do you have?
Well, a lot of sort of desert archaeology does not have excavation. It's eroded away due to the wind.
Oh, so what's your answer to my question? How much does archaeology really know about the past of the Sahara?
Well, we understand about the domestication of pearl millet in the Sahara, from when the Sahara was much of it was actually more habitable because it was not desert. So we can see the domestication of pearl millet and sorghum.
No.
We can see Ice Age sites across it.
My question is related specifically to my subject. Has enough of the Sahara been excavated for archaeology to exclude any possibility that they've missed anything important in the Sahara?
We have found thousands of sites of ephemeral hunter-gatherer remains in the Sahara.
You're still not answering my question. How much of the Sahara has archaeology actually looked at?
I have no idea, but quite a bit, Graham.
What do you mean by quite a bit?
What I mean is that due to remote sensing, due to surface survey, and due to archaeological excavation, we actually have reasonable coverage across the Sahara. We understand that during green periods in the Neolithic, we can see agricultural villages, and before the Neolithic, we can find ephemeral hunter-gatherer camps where they were napping stones.
But the fact of the matter is, around about 1% of the Sahara has been excavated, and 99% hasn't. So to say that there's no possibility of any traces of a lost civilization in the Sahara seems to me a bit premature, particularly since during the African humid period, and there were several of them, the Sahara was green and fertile and was a very attractive environment in which to live. I might come on to the ancient maps issue, but there's an ancient map up there which shows a green and fertile Sahara, and oddly it coincides very much with a radar survey of the Sahara done in 2015, showing river channels in exactly the places shown in that ancient map. I think the Sahara is a fascinating, underserved area by archaeology. And the plain fact of the matter is it's very expensive to work there, it's very difficult to work there, and archaeology has done very little work in the Sahara. Not no work, but very little. Not enough to write off the possibility that evidence might be found in the future. You know, you're basing this on our technology now. Let's look 200 years in the future. Look how much archaeology has progressed in the last 50 years. 200 years in the future, the technologies might be so much more advanced. There's so much stuff that has simply not been looked at. And the Sahara is one of those underserved areas as far as I'm concerned. So is the Amazon. 6.7 million square kilometers, about 5.5 still covered by rainforest. It's bigger than India. Well, here's an article from Nature. 95% of the Amazon has simply not been investigated at all, and those bits that have been investigated are minuscule by comparison. Yet, where investigation is taking place in the Amazon, astonishing finds are being made. And these are in the Brazilian state of Acre, and geoglyphs have been found there. And I've recently been with, not all archaeologists are as opposed to my work as you and your colleagues, Flint. But I've been with Martti Paasinen, who's a leading archaeologist studying the Amazon. I've been with Alceo Ranzi, who's a geographer from Brazil, and with Fabio Davais Filho, who's a LiDAR expert. This is very recently, actually. We did some LiDAR work in that area, and this is the kind of thing that's being found. Huge, enormous earthworks, geoglyphs, which, were we to find them in the West, we would recognize them as almost as henges. The amount of workmanship that goes into these earthworks is stunning. And they are very precise, very geometrical. You have squares. Here you have a square enclosing a circle. More of the same. Tequino is a gigantic site. These are just scratching the surface. The archaeologists who are working on these sites believe that there are thousands and thousands more of these geoglyph sites, that they're just touching the edge. When I was there with them back in September 23, I think it was, we actually did a bit of LiDAR work. We put up a drone with LiDAR attached, and we found new geoglyphs that had not been found before within a mile of geoglyphs that had been found, but still covered by canopy rainforest. And Martti and Alceo are of the view that if we were to really investigate the whole of the Amazon from this point of view, we would have to revolutionize our whole view of human history. That archaeology has hardly touched this incredibly important region. And therefore, I do not believe that archaeology can tell us that it can rule out any possibility of a